Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome PJ Souls, Brian Andrews, Tommy Doyle, Charles Cyphers, Sheriff Brackett. Great. What was it like on the very first day of the set for either of you? Where you all worked together, or what was it like? What happened on that first day?
I think we all had different first days.
Yeah, we did. We all did, yeah.
My first day, well, I don't know if I can remember exactly the first day, but I remember the whole filming of Halloween, but not specifically maybe the first day, except that probably, I think it was coming out of the high school, that scene, when we were walking, and I'm talking about my books and things, but it was exciting. You knew that you were working with somebody that had a really good idea of what he wanted, and that he also was very eager to listen to anything that you wanted to add or put forth with your character. So I remember I'm very much into my wardrobe and the way the character looks in my hair, so I was kind of very hands-on, and he liked, John Carpenter liked everything that I wanted to do with my character, so I was kind of happy the first day. And it continued after that, which was nice, but that was my second film, so that for me, I was lucky because Carrie was my first film, and then Halloween was my second film. So I was lucky to have had a good working experience right off the bat. So
Wonderful.
I'm wondering, were you a TV or stage actress before, or was that your first acting gig at all?
No, I had lived in New York before coming out for the audition for Carrie, and I had worked on a soap opera, Love is a Many Splendored Thing, for a year, and I'd also done a lot of modeling and commercials in New York City. But I didn't really want to get into the stage acting because of the fact that I kind of poop out around 10 o'clock at night, and I get up early, so it wasn't my thing. But I liked working on the soap opera. And everybody kept saying, you should go out to California. I was like, oh, I don't know. You have to drive. I like the subway. But I'm glad I did.
I'm not really sure. I think my first scene might have been the one where I'm actually running down the street to meet Laurie, and I'm yelling at her, and I'm trying to stop her. And we went through the scene once, and then John said to me, okay, and then he said to Jane, he said, okay, and then you're going to walk off, and then we're going to play Laurie's theme. And I looked at him, and he said, no, I'm sorry, there is no Tommy's theme. And I was a little upset by that, and we improv the scene once or twice. And walked down the street, did the thing about the Myers house, you can't go up there. And then I went and did 3 hours of school and went home.
I remember my first day of shooting was, we did a scene in Hollywood. It was at a house that was similar to the one in Pasadena, and they had toilet papers in the trees and et cetera. And I had worked for John once before on Assault on Precinct 13. So I was fairly familiar with him, and not much happened. We had I think it was like one little van to do makeup, wardrobe, changing. Nobody had any separate trailer. Nobody had any, it was just, on the cuff. So a few establishing things there, and then most of the stuff then moved, for me at least, to Pasadena, right here. And that's where most of my stuff took place.
Charles, what was it like meeting Donald Pleasence for the first time? Were you familiar with his body of work? Were you nervous to meet him?
No. I'd worked around quite a bit then, done quite a bit of stage myself, so I was impressed by him. I met him, and I introduced myself to him, and he was, it was the scene in front, where the hardware store where the girls pull up and they're stoned or, whatever, and he just sort of walked up, and I introduced myself. I said, hi, I'm Chuck Cyphers, and he said, oh, yes, he said, I'm Donald Pleasence, and I'm from Gayola. And I went, oh, that's nice, whatever that means, But we had a fun time because we talked about a mutual play we did, and I enjoyed him. We did The Caretaker. I did it here in America, and he did it over in London, of course. So we had a good time. I liked him. He was fun to work with, nice to bounce off of, So that was
wonderful and great. Can you describe how Donald Pleasence and Carpenter would react on this set? I know Carpenter was in awe of Donald Pleasence. So was there any kind of obvious awe? Would he trip up?
Well, Donald knew pretty much. If I understand this right, his daughter did like the music, yeah. And so he did the film for her, on the let's see. I'm trying to think of something specific, but it doesn't come to mind.
Yeah, because I had no scenes with Donald
Yeah,
Pleasence. So.
I
But
just-
he was there for lunch. That's what I
No,
remember.
no, he was just great. I mean, right there, just right there. And you look in his eyes, and you had to bite my tongue half the time because it was.
Yeah, he had a pretty scary look. He was the scariest
had that
thing on
way
the
about
set
him.
of Halloween.
Little buddy's helper.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Charles. You and Donald did a lot of scenes at the old Myers house. Was it
Right.
pretty creepy? Or?
No, it was actually. It was. It was. The house wasn't near the shape it's in now. I mean, it was pretty
Yeah.
well worn down. So when we walked in, it was, and they had it fixed up nice. I mean, there were glass windows that were cracked, and we walked in and looked at the dog, in the front and upstairs, and it was kind of shabby. I mean, they did a great job to make it look like it was vacant for a long time.
So Brian, were you too young to know that you were doing something really important? Were you excited? Were you like the famous in school for being in a movie?
This was not my first movie. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. This was not the first thing I'd done. I was about 11 when I did that, and I had been acting since I was 3, and well, yeah.
That's a long time ago.
And so really, for me, it was like, okay, go learn the lines, go do what the director says, come home, go back again tomorrow, do the lines, meet with some people, go to school for 3 hours a day, try to be close to the set in case they need you. I don't think any of us knew it was going to be a big thing.
No, not at
No,
all.
I mean,
No,
this was like, for me, for me, this was just another job in that sense. And then when the movie came out, I was in South Carolina filming another film, and I had heard the movie had become big quickly. I remember there was another movie out, like within a year, called The Boogeyman, that tried to play on its coattails. Do you remember that at all? No. There was another movie out called The Boogeyman. They were just using the title. Some people tell me it's forgotten now.
Because we weren't in it.
Among other reasons, yes.
Soundtrack wasn't by John Carpenter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Wasn't the music great in that? I mean, John wrote it all, and it's like wow. Wow.
So I guess it's safe to say you never imagined 25 years later you would be sitting up here still talking
What does
about
it feel
Still
like?
alive?
Yeah. What does it?
Yeah, what does it feel like being in such an iconic movie and having an audience 25 years later still loving it? What does it feel like?
Great. I love it. It's really special. And especially that it falls on a holiday, it makes it even more special. And that everybody comes from all over the country to come here and sort of share in the experience of it. It's really nice. No, I feel very, very privileged.
It's kind of like being in a Dali painting. It's very surreal for me. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm just trying not to be too overwhelmed. It's fun. I'm having a good time.
I had not realized how many fans this movie had. It totally amazes me. I mean,
Hey, that's my line, totally. Don't steal it.
Totally.
My word.
Totally. But I just feel that, and I'm in real deep appreciation of all you out there, because we sometimes forget about it's all you that made the movie go, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I was happy to be connected with a project like that.
Were there any bloopers on the set that you remember? I mean, I know you tripped in that one scene,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, they kept that in.
Right.
Speaking of that, where was the interior of the Wallace house filmed? Because it's obviously not the same home over
I
on
think
Orange
it
Grove.
was Pasadena, because I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Pasadena. Because we used the outside there, too, so when we got out of the van. So that was the same house.
Anything you can remember that went really awry on set, or?
I recall that we actually had to split the pumpkin because I fell on it 3 times and I was just too small to actually crack it. So I think they gave me a cracked or a partially cracked pumpkin eventually. So and so eventually they got the shot they want. There's a scene where me and Laurie and Kyle were walking out with the popcorn to go and watch the movie, and I ad-libbed the line 2 or 3 times before I say, "What are we watching? What are we watching? What's on?" I ad-libbed that 2 or 3 times before somebody caught on to it and said, "No, the movie you're watching is the thing. Don't say that anymore." So they knew that the thing was actually going to be on TV when we were filming it.
Okay, we have a question.
All right. First for PJ Souls, I was just wondering how you said you came up with a lot of this stuff for your character. Did you think of saying the word totally over and over, or was that already in the script?
It was already in the script, but not as many times as I said it. So I made a vow to say it as many times as I could. I did it sort of to see if John was going to hold me back and say, you know what, I think you're saying it too much, but he never did, and I guess everybody likes it. It's so funny. I have to count it, though.
Also for Brian, when you after you made the movie, when you first saw it, being so young, were you scared of watching it?
Shitless.
Good question.
Very scared.
What happened? What happened? What did you do? Did you just...
The premiere
Hide?
was at the Directors Guild, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the premiere was at the Directors Guild. I remember seeing Ron Howard in the audience. I brought a friend of mine who lived on my block.
Was he scared?
His mother called my mother the next day to yell at her.
It's probably from my scene.
But
Mom, I saw something I liked.
I was 15. I got in trouble too for going. I was R-rated, so my mom's here.
Just a couple questions for PJ actually. After when they filmed after you died and you were in a, what was that? What were you in, and how cramped was that?
Yeah, it was a closet.
It looked like one of those dumbwaiter
They
things.
squished me in it, yeah, because it was a closet with a ledge that I guess you put your shoes or whatever. So
Oh, okay.
I remember having to be kind of squished in there, and they were poking and pushing me into it, and kind
how
of
long did you have to
shutting
be-
the door. Well, they kept the door open until right before they were going to shoot the scene. But the fun part was getting the bruised makeup and all of that. That was kind of cool. And then figuring out how my head was going to look and lay when the door opened. So I think I did it a lot of different ways just to surprise Jamie, when she opened the door.
And the other question is, you've been in pretty much 2 major horror movies, Carrie and Halloween. Which do you like, Norma or Linda? Who's your favorite?
Oh, I like both of them. Norma, that was my first movie, so I like my red baseball hat, and it was just all the girls in that movie were really fun to work with, and Betty Buckley was really a trip. Yeah, and I got to be mean, which is always fun.
Everybody, I'd just like you to please welcome Joseph Wolf. He's one of the executive producers of the original Halloween. Now, I know Joe hasn't done a lot of appearances, have you?
No, I mean, plenty of them.
Are you a little shy in front of everybody, or are you?
No, I'm not shy.
Oh, okay. Well, Joe, since you've just joined us, can you just let us know a little bit about how you became involved with Halloween and how you became such a lucky guy?
How I became involved in Halloween. Can you hear me?
I think Joe, you got to speak right in the top of it like this.
What happened is we did a picture. I distribute movies as well, and we did a picture called Assault on Precinct 13. I'm sure you guys know about Assault on Precinct 13. And but we distributed it, and we had a European distributor who distributed Assault on Precinct 13 for us. And he told us that John Carpenter was terrific, and therefore we had to make a picture with John Carpenter. The guy's name happened to be Michael Myers, by the way. He was our European distributor, and we named it after
That's
him.
great.
And
I never heard that.
I didn't
That's
either.
funny. That's
You learned something too.
That's
Michael
wild.
Myers, yeah.
Wow.
He passed away about 2 years ago. But on the way home, I had my partner, Erwin Yablans, thought of the idea of doing a picture about a babysitter. Well, we did a picture about a babysitter, and he said, who can we get to write the picture? And we had met John through Assault on Precinct 13, and we got John to write the picture. And he wrote it, and then John and Deborah produced it, and we distributed it. The story about the distribution was when we first did the movie, nobody had any money, you see. And everybody did it for nothing.
That's right.
Actors, producers, everybody did it for nothing. And basically, when we made the movie, Irwin was a distributor as well. And he worked for a company, he worked with me on another picture called, there were a couple of pictures that he worked on with me, and basically I can't think of the name of the picture, but he worked on me he worked with me on these pictures. And then we had to get distribution. So basically, we opened the movie in Kansas City. Movie died in Kansas City the first week. Second week, they stood online. You couldn't believe what the word of mouth was.
Since the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's been a lot of internet chatter about a Halloween remake. Whether or not that ever surfaces to be true or if it's a consideration, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, why remake a masterpiece?
I agree.
But this time we could get paid. No.
But just in case they did do a remake, who would you all want to play you?
I don't think there'll ever be a remake of Halloween. But what there will be one of these days is between the three movies, the three devils, I can't think of all of them, Jason and Michael Myers, sooner or later they'll be in one picture, I believe. We were going to try and put one in, about, I would say, it must be about 6 years ago with Dino De Laurentiis, but I couldn't get along with him, so.
Michael meets, you know.
Yeah, Michael meets Jason. Michael is.
We have another question right here.
Yeah, this is for PJ. What was it like when John called you and Nancy Loomis back for the additional TV footage that was done? Just the kind of chemistry between all of you, and was there a lot of excitement? And also, do you still see Jamie Lee or Nancy or any of them?
I was invited to the H2O premiere, and I saw Jamie Lee, and that was really fun. And I recently saw Nancy when we had a screening at the Egyptian Theater for Halloween, and she brought her children, and I brought my daughter and her friends, so that was nice. I don't, on a weekly, daily, yearly basis, and don't really stay in touch. We did at the time right afterwards. Jamie and I became very good friends for about 5 years, but then you'd get involved in other projects and relationships, and times change. But when we went back for the TV footage, I believe it was wasn't it a year later? It was. You don't remember?
I
You
didn't get.
Oh yeah.
No. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
I was the one that had the scenes.
Yeah.
See anything you? Oh.
The TV version.
And it was sort of like a reunion. It was fun, and I think we all tried to look the same.
The making of the TV version
Yeah, it was fun.
cost more than
Wow.
the picture itself.
Really?
You mean to edit it and yeah.
What we had to do for NBC to put it out cost more than the picture itself.
Wow.
This question's for Brian Andrew. Brian, when Halloween 6 came out, did they offer you the part of the grown-up Tommy Doyle?
They tried to get a hold of me, but I didn't have an agent at the time. I still don't. It's kind of hard to get a hold, Paul got a hold of me. Very people. They tried, but for some reason they were unable to. Yes, they did try.
SAG, they couldn't get you? No.
I didn't have an agent. They wouldn't. And SAG didn't give them my.
Phone number?
Yeah, they wouldn't give my personal number. So yes, they did try to get a hold of me, and they were unable to. I didn't even know about it. When I heard about it, I'm all like, oh, damn it. That sucks.
Really?
Yeah. But yes, they did, and no, they could not.
Okay, thanks.
This question is for Charles. I was wondering, how was it to work with Donald Pleasance?
I thoroughly enjoyed him. He was a great professional, had a great theatrical background. We had done some plays that he did over in England and I did in America. And he was just great. He was great to work off of. He gave you so much, and he was spooky, and you could play off of it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with them.
This isn't really a question. This is just one last comment I wanted to make. I just wanted to say, me and my brother watched this movie over and over, and I just wanted to thank all of you and everybody that has to do with Halloween for making a movie that could scare the crap out of someone over and over.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sheriff Brackett.
Sure.
Are you allowed to say a quote?
Sure. Now, you remind me what it is, and I'll be glad to.
Damn you for letting him out.
Let's hear that. Dim the lights.
All right, here we go. Damn you for letting him out.
Actually, it's damn you for letting him go. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. It's you let him out. That's
You let him out.
While we're at it, Tommy. I'm sorry. Brian.
Yes.
How's about a? Who is it? While we're at it.
You can't kill the video.
Okay, I understand.
Who is it?
The grown-up version.
Yeah.
That's good. How many times is she going to say totally? Okay.
Go get me a beer. Hey, where's my beer?
But PJ, I thought you were gonna get me one.
Halloween keeps living. It keeps living. The reason it keeps selling and keeps is that you get a new group of people who buy it, and next year there'll be another one, and the next year, 7 years later, there'll be another one. So the movie just keeps on going, and it was so well made. And one of you brought it up. There are no real special effects. It's directing and script and acting, and that's it. And that's what makes them a good movie. You can have all the special effects in the world and everything else, but it doesn't make the actors, and it doesn't make the script, and it doesn't give you the director. And that's the key to all movies.
This has been a real treat. Thank you so much for coming.
Welcome.
Please give
Welcome.
a huge round of applause.